we go.
Hey. Love it. All right. If we're good then,
Okay.
I'll jump into it.
Okay.
Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast. My name is producer Richard, and next to me is the doctor himself.
Hello.
Each week, we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners just like you listening right now. Hey.
Sometimes when you say
How's
that,
your
I
day?
think of the old PBS viewers like
Hey,
you thing.
with viewers, yeah, I mean, that's kind of the idea that I'm going for, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with sweet listeners like you, that just for $1 a day, you can save this podcast. Today, we are joined by some guests. Welcome, John and Adam from the Blast from Our Past podcast. Welcome.
Welcome.
Hello.
Thank you.
Thanks for making the time to be on the show, guys. I think the first time I heard of you guys or heard you at all was through our mutual friend Tess.
Yes.
Yeah.
and her show. But yeah, I mean, you guys cover all sorts of topics on your show. Do you want to talk a little bit about Blast from Our Past?
Adam, you go ahead.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure. Yes, we cover a lot of different types of the gamut, mostly from it's called Blast from Our Past, so it's from our nostalgic genres and from our age range, which is usually late 70s all the way to like mid to late 90s. We do movie reviews, television show reviews, album reviews, top 10 lists, as well as fan castings. And so we would take something like what we do that's most into the comic book world is John and I are both nerds. We've read many comic books. And so what we like to do is we'll take different comic book teams and we'll be like, oh man, I want to recast that as to, like Alpha Flight. There's never been an Alpha Flight movie. Who would you want to be, on an Alpha Flight film, which is Marvel. I know you guys are DC, but you know what I mean.
We're just nerds. Dare you?
They're Canadian though, so
Oh,
They are Canadian.
yeah.
So we just do all the gamut, and
Damn
for
it,
other
another one.
nerds,
God damn it.
yeah, just wanted to throw out there as well. We also have a trivia-based podcast called Throwback Trivia Takedown that also hits nostalgic knowledge from your 70s, 80s, and 90s pop culture.
That's
we're all over the
awesome.
place.
I mean, I feel like we talk about nostalgia a lot. I mean, we were just talking about all the Nintendo stuff too. So we were definitely like talking about how throwback all of their new announcements have been. But what are some of like the comic things or superhero things that you are nostalgic for? Like what did you grow up with? Was it Superman, X-Men? What sort of stuff were you into?
I'll go ahead and start.
Sure.
So, apropos of this podcast, my very first memory of going to the cinema was the '89 Batman.
Wow. Nice.
That was that's the first memory I have of actually going to the theater to see a movie with my brother and my sister and my dad, and it's always stuck with me. So for some reason, I always kind of remember that.
Right.
And what goes along with that is I can't remember if I did it before or after I watched the movie. I bought the graphic novel version of the movie.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And read it, and that, as far as I can remember, that might be my first comic book.
Wow.
So I would have been about 8 years old.
Do you have a memory of the experience of the excitement for a Batman movie? Because I mean, obviously there had been the Adam West Batman, but it had been a long time since that was like on. It had been a long time even since some of the Superman movies. I can't remember when Quest for Peace was, but that's like 84 or something maybe.
Probably.
Um,
Go ahead, Ed.
yeah. So like, what was it like to be there on the cusp of a new sort of Batman coming out?
I mean, as far as I can remember, it was exciting. And a lot of stuff that came out around that time, 89, 90, 91. I've told this story on our podcast, but when the Ninja Turtles movie was announced, the very first time I saw the trailer for that, because we didn't have the internet, so there was no talk that movie was even taking place.
Right.
And the first time I saw the trailer, I lost my mind because I was a big fan of the cartoons. Adam is about 5 years younger than me, so he was very little when all this stuff started to happen.
Right.
But I remember I remember when it was a big deal.
Yeah.
Well, that
That
like
that
the
a superhero movie was coming
the
out.
TMNT stuff is really interesting too, because
Yeah.
it's like, especially if you started with the cartoons, because I was with me, I knew the cartoons, and then suddenly finding out that this movie exists, and it's so different from the cartoons. It's actually much more similar to what the comic books were, but
Yeah.
I mean, those weren't like super widely available the way that the
No,
cartoon
they
was,
weren't,
right?
yeah.
And so you read that comic book, or you watch that TV show, and then you see that movie, and you're like, what, like this gritty version of it
Yeah.
before anybody did it, and really like nobody else had done anything like that for years after. Like it was such a thing on its own.
And pretty decent puppet
Yeah.
work.
Oh,
like
yeah.
like
Oh,
Jim
yeah. Henson.
all the Jim Henson stuff there. Like I think it's still, that part of those movies holds up pretty well.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
What about you, Adam? What are some of the things that you remember growing up? Like first things you read, first things you saw.
Yeah, I think so. I was born in '85, so I really started getting into like action cartoons when I was like 7, 8, etc. And for me, there were two cartoons that I think for a lot of other people brought you into the world of comics that really jump-started me into the world of comics that just expanded my horizons. And that, of course, was the X-Men animated series and Batman the animated series. Those, I think, they created they created fans for life for so many people.
Definitely.
100%.
Yeah,
I mean, they're two of our favorite shows of all time, or two of our favorite like nostalgic cartoons of all time, and I'd say for good reason. And honestly, rewatching them both, spoiler alert, they both hold up. They're amazing.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even that, like the weird season where they outsourced the animation for X-Men
yeah,
is still kind of fun to watch. Yeah.
In fact, we love those two so much that we did a special episode. We have a normal format for one. I think Adam mentioned it, where we do a movie and then a TV show and then a fan casting, and that's one of our formats.
Right.
We changed it up for that to do both of the animated series. And have you guys heard of the Dynamic Duel podcast?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay, so we had both of those guys on
Right.
to talk about those two shows because one of them's DC and one of them's Marvel. So we had a DC versus Marvel kind of go at the animated series from the early 90s, which was so much fun.
That's amazing. That's a ton of fun. Yeah, I mean, I love both of those, but I remember both of those as a kid. They're kind of stuck in my brains.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, those are foundational.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. So, flash forward to now. I know. We talked about, in preparation for this, we talked specifically about like Batman Hush being like a big, a big comic, a big story to have read that we sort of all knew. But what else are you currently reading? Are you still reading comics, monthly as they come out? Do you still get trades? What's the stuff that you like now?
I'll go ahead and start because John, your list is going to be way longer. I was a hardcore Deadpool reader. Like every month, I was getting for a while getting all of his stuff, and then he blew up way too much, and he was in so many different things, and he started to have like a bajillion different books that I was just like, I fizzled out. I know I still love Deadpool; he's my favorite character, period. But he just got too big for his britches a little bit, and too annoying because too many different writers didn't know how to write him properly, and so a lot of his stories were shit. Sorry, can I cuss on this?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay, so I have a problem. I have an issue not cussing, but I will try if it's not the problem. But if it's
The things that are said on this, the cussing's probably the best thing that can come out of our mouths.
Okay. And then besides that, fables, and I do try to stick, fairly. I read quite a bit of those. Right now, though, I don't know. I have 3 podcasts that I do, and so it's just like it's too. I have no time to read anymore.
Yeah, well, that's fair too. Yeah.
I do 2 podcasts, and yet I somehow still find time to read.
It's that
read.
third one. The third one puts you over the edge.
I'm telling you. So, I mean, I read sporadic comics, throughout the 90s and stuff. And the 2000s is roughly around the time I started college, was the early part of the decade, and kind of fell off the wagon. I did read the Cable and Deadpool series. Adam and I were kind of almost exclusively Marvel for a long time, other than Adam having read some Batman stuff.
Yeah. Batman trade paperbacks in general was one thing. I was always kind of getting quite a bit of Marvel stuff, and particularly Deadpool. But then I would always just go back to I need some Batman TPBs because he has the best trade paperbacks and best like story arcs in my opinion of any character out there.
Yeah, definitely.
So lately, actually probably because of the podcast that we started, I started going back and reading all of those classic stories that I didn't read when they came out or when I was, around the typical age of the comic book reader. And I've pretty much been going nonstop for the last year and a half, 2 years.
Right.
I just, whatever I can read, I just grab a whole bunch of stuff. I started reading Fables at Adam's suggestion.
So
I started reading Dennis O'Neill's Question Run.
Amazing. That's a great run.
I just started that one, so I'm only I don't know, a handful of issues into that one. I'm a little bit ADD when it comes to that stuff, so I'll go for a little bit on one and I'll switch to another. There's no way I'm going to read like 1,000 issues of one thing. I gotta switch it.
Yeah,
up.
but for the same thing, John. You did an episode. We mentioned Tess earlier. Tess is how. So Tess had John on for an OCD podcast episode to talk about Secret Invasion, and John got and read all of the fucking Secret Invasion, every fucking book that was ever in Secret Invasion. John read
all the tie-ins, all the
everything.
29 different trade books.
Oh my god!
Yeah, all of the arcs of those. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. And all of it just to talk for Tess for about an hour.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you. I mean, I listened to that episode. I was impressed at how much you condensed that talk into an hour.
Well, one of the good things is, well, I shouldn't say a good thing, but a lot of those tie-in ones didn't tie into the main story, so there was no point to talk about them if they didn't tie into the main story.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely made you read tie-in issues to things that did not tie in.
Fuck tie-in issues.
Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember what some of the most recent stuff is.
Let's talk a little bit about Batman Hush just before today we're going to talk about Arkham villains, the inmates of Arkham Asylum, Batman's rogues, and Batman Hush is a great story for that because so many of them are in there. What is it about that story that you like, that drew you to it? What are your favorite pieces out of that sort of classic? Well, I mean, it's relatively modern, but also kind of classic story.
Right. I read it. I actually only first read it probably a few months ago.
Right.
I was on a kick. I was right after I got the DC Unlimited or Universe app.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, well, now I can just read some of the stuff that is already on there. And I had heard so many things about Hush and, the animated movie and blah, blah, blah. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to read it. And loved it.
Yeah.
I think the first Batman story I had read to get me into it was Adam made me read Long Halloween, which I think is probably his favorite one.
Yeah,
it's pretty much, yeah.
And so I started on that one and then just started going through other ones. I loved it so much that the second I finished it, I said, I'm going to watch the animated movie, and then instantly regretted that. Because it did not quite follow the story exactly, and I was not happy with it.
Yeah. Sometimes the translation of those doesn't 100% hit, but
yeah.
The thing I like about, so I read Hush probably around 2012, 2013. I think it came out around 2009-ish or 2008, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I read it pretty soon after the trade paperback came out, and because I had friends who are from the Dynamic Duel podcast who kind of, when I was working with them, we used to all work at the same company, and they would be part of my recommendations of like, oh, we would talk about different stuff to read to each other, and they said you got to read Hush, and so I did, and yeah, it blew me away. It became instantly one of my like top Batman stories from reading it. The art from Jim Lee is fantastic. Jim Lee, obviously amazing.
Yeah,
some great work in there. To me, I like that it's a love story. It's really, when it comes down to the heart of it, it's really about Batman and Catwoman when you think about it. And I really like that.
It's true. That story leans a lot more on that than I remembered it doing. When I went back and read it, I was like, this is a lot about Bruce and Selina. Yeah, I mean,
it warms the cockles of my hearts.
It's kind of wild how many characters are woven through it too, right?
Yeah.
You got Ivy, Harley, Catwoman, Riddler, Joker, Croc, Superman,
Two-Face jumps in.
Two-Face,
Clayface.
Huntress. Yeah, it's all over the place.
Yeah, it's really wild. I do think it's probably like pinnacle Jim Lee at the big two sort of art. It's different from the stuff that he was doing at Image and stuff like that, but for his like sort of mainstream work, I think that's sort of where he peaks.
He did something else besides mainstream work.
Yeah, if you cast your mind back 30 years almost. Yeah.
Yeah, but I love the way that he incorporates. Whenever they do flashbacks in Hush, he changes the style so well that you can obviously immediately tell. And I think he just does a fantastic job of diving in from like what is the current timeline to going to the flashbacks, and you're like you immediately kind of doesn't have a sepia tone, but you kind of get that feel of it.
Yeah, it almost looks like watercolory a little bit, in those flashback panels. Yeah. I mean, I did reread Hush because I just wanted the refresher on it, and I forgot how much it like dips and turns, how much it's sort of not really about Tommy Elliott, even though he's like the namesake of the story. It's a pretty outrageous book, but I thought it would be a fun jumping off point for talking about Bat villains. But before we get into it, just because we got lots of questions, but I don't think we got this one. Who's your favorite Bat villain?
Ooh.
Adam, I'll let you start.
Oh, that's fucking tough. Okay. So, yeah. For me, as I mentioned, I talked about I love the stuff with Catwoman here, and for me, Long Halloween is always one of my favorites. So it's hard not to say Catwoman, but she's not the villain. She's such a more interesting character. She's a totally different person.
Right.
I know she's considered in the Rogues Gallery, but to me, she's beyond that.
Sure.
She is. Yeah. So if we are including her, I will include Catwoman because what she does to Batman and what she, how she changes his mentality and becomes such a part of his life, and the struggles in both of those books. Two of my favorite Batman books, Hush and Long Halloween. He's having that same struggle of me and Selena kind of stuff. So I really appreciate that. Besides that, I would probably have to. I mean, I don't know. I had such an influence from Mark Hamill for the Joker that I cannot separate that, and I'd feel shitty saying anything else because Mark Hamill is so much in my heart and in my brain for the Joker that I don't read the Joker and not put his voice into it.
Right.
And I don't put the way even the way that they drew him and his mannerisms and whatnot. To me, it's part of it. He is the best Joker, hands down. There is no question about it. Don't even say anything else, anybody, because I know that's true. And so it's the cop-out answer, but I have to say that.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, there's a reason Joker's stuck around, right? Like, it's not not a good answer to say he's an incredible Batman villain.
And if I have to go with someone else, Condiment King, because ketchup and mustard guns.
love Condiment King. Yeah. What about you, John?
Depending on how she's written, I love Poison Ivy.
Right.
Sometimes I find her to be written so well, and then sometimes I just kind of, they just don't know how to treat her. But one that I've really become fascinated with, who's a definite villain, is Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've kind of become a big fan of any time he shows up in anything Batman, comics, movies, TV shows. I just like that character.
Have you gone back and like read that sort of like original like a Neil Adams kind of era Ra's al Ghul?
Not yet, but I aim to. So my list of stuff to read is stupid long.
Yeah, but you only have two podcasts, not three. So
yeah, and a family to take care of and all the other stuff.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah.
But that's all bottom of the list stuff, anyways, right? So.
Priorities, John.
What about you, Richard? Who's your favorite Batman villain?
I mean, there's a difference between like who's my favorite in concept and then who's my favorite sort of in practice.
Sure, that's fair.
Because I think like conceptually, I really like. I mean, it's a thing that we talk about all the time, which is sort of the way we like to look at Batman villains is like the reflection of different parts of Bruce Wayne's personality. Right. So like you're getting sort of Penguin's the rich sort of kid side of him. Like I think that like Joker like speaks to like his like inhumanity, like and so for me, I think that like I think Riddler is the coolest in practice. Like, I think that you have so much opportunity and there's some really cool stuff that they've done with him.
Sure.
But I think that for me, like the idea of like what could be done with somebody like Penguin for me is somebody that I still feel like hasn't like fully been sort of like really looked at. Because I mean, there's never going to be a time where the Penguin sort of like the dichotomy between like rich and poor and sort of like he's always going to be relevant, but it's a thing that I feel like that's not a thing that we see enough with that character.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I think that like Penguin's pretty high up there for me.
Interesting.
You literally named the two villains that I like the least.
Wow.
And it's because of what you said. Yeah. In concept, and very interesting, but in practice, I've never found them to be done well enough at all for me to take them into anything other than some sort of like comic relief
Absolutely.
villain.
Have you seen the trailer for the Batman?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
The idea with the Riddler there as being like this sort of like serial killer, like that type of thing, I think could be potentially really cool.
It's true. There's a lot of fingers crossed for like that sticking the landing, I think.
Well, and I think I agree. The thing that makes me not like them so much is I don't think they've gone dark enough.
Yeah.
With them.
That's not his MO exactly. He just kind of he'll steal some stuff and have some little jokey riddles.
Yeah.
But besides that, they don't hit it hard, and I think they will with the Batman. I hope.
I really hope so.
Yeah, that's true. I was good. I mean, my favorite one is Two-Face. It's always Two-Face because
that's because you live two lives.
Because I am Two-Faced and I can connect to that.
And you have that demonstrous face. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's hideous.
Yeah. No, I mean it's like. Because it's so more than most other characters, it's so like at any point along the road, Batman could have become that, right? Because they were all on the same side, and like Batman he is kind of on the edge, sanity wise, you could argue, like the stuff that happened to Harvey tipped him over the edge. It could very easily have gone the other way,
also,
and so I think taking someone that is meant to be fighting for justice or meant to be like this sort of symbol and them falling from grace is like that. I don't know that Two-Face is always used very well, sort of similar to some other villains, but that idea of like he's the what if Batman basically, and I kind of always think that means they are connected maybe on a deeper level than Batman and the Joker.
But yeah, I think that also like Two-Face is like from an angle, like besides the killing thing, like they almost are already the same thing. Like Batman has already sort of crossed the line in a lot of ways. I think that Batman sort of like if the coin fell on the side, that's sort of like
right. Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like he never sort of he uses justice as a way to sort of like prove what he does is right. But at the end of the day, like he's not doing anything that's actually good for anybody. In some ways, like if you look at like mental health and things like that, he's not actually doing anything to better society. So he's just sort of like another side to the same coin.
Yeah, I think they have a lot in common. I always like Two-Face. I always sort of hold out hope for a really good Two-Face story.
For sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, did you have something there?
No, don't worry about it.
Well, we got a ton of questions about Batman villains.
Who would have thought? Batman.
I whittled it down to what I think are some of the most fun sort of things to talk about, like most interesting sort of discussion topics. But should we just get into it?
Yeah, why don't we?
Sure.
Let's head over to Facebook.
Going to the face and the book. Going to the Facebook.
That's right. First question comes from Alex Sanchez, who asks, excluding the Joker, who do you think is the most evil of Batman's villains?
Right. I mean, this is interesting because a lot of Batman's villains, especially over time, the writers try and find like what's the humanity in them or things like that.
Mm-hmm. Who's to say that Joker's evil anyways? He's got a lot of good ideas. The trains are running on time.
Yeah, well, let's take Joker off the board.
Like his artwork.
Who is the closest to objective evil of the rest of Batman's villains?
For me, I think I lean towards Victor Zsasz.
Right.
I mean, the guy is just straight up psychopath. There's nothing. There's really very little humanity in that character. He is just, he is set out to torture and kill and kill and torture and fuck up the world.
Yeah.
And now there's people who've done bigger and badder things, and so maybe you could say that they, because he's kind of a small time serial killer when it comes to the world of the Gotham side of stuff.
Right.
But he is very single minded with his evilness, and that is killing, and that's about as bad as it gets. And so for me, that's who I lend towards.
Yeah, he's not like doing anything to like achieve anything. He's just
he's not killing to get somewhere. He's just killing. Yeah,
because like you look at someone like Penguin, he's like trying to like get back at people for what's happened to like his family in some cases.
Yeah.
Like you look at Freeze, and he's trying like it's all for his wife.
Right.
Like there's always like an angle for them, and I think that with Zsasz it's just fucking murder.
Yeah, Zsasz is a really good answer. I like that one. John, what do you think?
There might be stories, I guess, showing this guy's humanity, but I've never seen them in comics or screen or anyone. But I've never seen the human side of Scarecrow. He always just seems like he's always doing something evil for whatever reason. Nothing that, other than just like his own gain.
That's interesting.
So
yeah. I mean, you certainly see his like origins. You see how he got to where he was, but you're right. It's not like a Freeze thing. He's never trying to do it for some sort of like noble cause,
or in his eyes,
or something in his eyes noble. You're right. Scarecrow is maybe one of the biggest ones without a sort of humanizing sort of thing there. I think you could say the same thing about the Riddler. I mean, we know why he leaves riddles, and that is like the humanizing thing, that he's got this OCD thing. He can't fight the compulsion. He needs to do that. But why isn't he proving that he's smart by like curing cancer, solving like world peace? Like, he's not applying all of this mental manipulation and mind games to something constructive. The Riddler is only doing it to kill the mayor, or prove Batman's wrong, or something like that. Yeah, I think I might say the Riddler.
Yeah, I love the Zsasz thing. I think that's such a great. That's a great one for sure.
So you're just
Good
going
job,
on
Adam.
Zsasz?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
fair enough. Nice.
All right, let's go to the next question.
Let's do it.
Next question comes from Roland Sabas, who asks one question: Bane, hyper-intelligent crime lord, or political revolutionist with good intentions and an accent? Which version fits better?
Right. What's your ideal version of Bane?
I'll start. I actually don't know Bane that well, other than seeing him in the Nolan movies.
Yeah.
I haven't read any stories really with him yet. I haven't read the
Nightfall. I read Nightfall.
Yeah, I have Nightfall. I just haven't read it
Yeah.
yet. So I don't know him well enough, I had to think, to give any kind of qualified answer.
Yeah. I mean, certainly the Bane from the Nolan movies is sort of that political, like, revolutionary, right? Like, he has this sort of big philosophical goal. He's trying to prove a point. He's like a man on this on a mission.
He's also the hyper intelligent crime lord too.
I think, this is a funny question. I never saw him as like a crime lord. Like, Penguin's a crime lord. He's like, he'll sell weapons and that. But Bane to me always works better when he's got some sort of loftier political ambition, like the Nolan thing or something like that. I think he's always smart.
Yeah.
But
well, not always.
He's smart enough to.
Not always.
Well,
not the Batman and Robin one. Yeah.
Yeah. When he's hyped up on the Venom juice, it's not super bad. But yeah, I mean, he's smart enough to figure out the Batman's identity and obviously go and bust him up. But I tend with y'all. It's the political revolutionary. I think that adds a lot more depth than just the, hey, I'm a hyper smart, but also addicted strong guy. We've seen strong and smart in so many different comic characters. Putting the political revolutionary side to him adds more depth to the character, and I think that's the better side of it.
Yeah, definitely. I agree there. What's your if you're reading or just envisioning Bane, do you envision like as it is in the comics that he is sort of like Latin American or from Central America or something like that, or do you now hear the like yes, like the Tom Hardy?
I tend towards the comic big beefy. John knows I like big beefy dudes. I'm a fan of like bodybuilding and stuff like that anyway. So I lean like give me my muscles. I want muscles on muscles on muscles in my comic books. And I
some
think
thick daddies in there.
With three C.
Absolutely.
Big Daddy Bane is what I need.
Absolutely. I love the lucha libre sort of like colorful versions of Bane. Like,
yeah, sure.
I really liked what they did with like the Telltale version of him as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going through the Telltale right now. I'm going through the first Telltale Batman one, which actually is pretty interesting on how they change up the whole Thomas Wayne stuff, his ties, as well as Penguin is totally younger and different. Anyway, we don't have to get into that, but I'm excited. I'm literally about halfway through the first Telltale one, and I'll move on to the second.
Those Telltale one,
fantastic.
that Telltale Batman is a really cool take on things.
Yeah.
Some interesting little twists and changes, so that if you know the comics, it's still a surprise. It's still fun to play. Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited.
Nice.
All right, let's go to the next question.
Yes, brother.
Oh, yes. Comes from Joe Yablonowski, who asks, if you were making a Batman movie and needed a villain stable like the old 66 Batman movie to take down the Bat family, which 4 or 5 are you picking and why?
Okay, so the Batman 66 movie featured the Joker, the Riddler, Catwoman, and Penguin teaming up to dehydrate the Security Council and take on the Batman. I'd like to propose that we each submit a member to a team to take down the Bat family. So who do you pick and why?
I'm gonna start.
Go ahead, Adam.
I think someone, because I think you need a wide variety of people, and what abilities. I think the ability of Poison Ivy and her mind control powers are something that is going to be immensely necessary to get some information that you need, or to mind control other people to get what you need to do. I think she is a fantastic choice to, a lot of other people here, yes, even like the Penguins, Two-Faces or whatnot, a lot of them are just smart, badass crime lords. Poison Ivy brings a different dynamic, and I think she would add something particularly important to that team.
Yeah, love that. All right, we got Poison Ivy on the team. Who else? John, you have one?
I would think you're gonna have egos, but you got to have a leader of some kind, someone who can plan, someone who's got connections. And I mentioned him before, but I think Ra's al Ghul is going to be the one to lead this team.
Right.
Ooh.
Yeah,
He's got the entire League of Shadows behind him too. That's pretty badass.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got like the strategic mind kind of covered. Yeah. I think any good team needs someone to go out there and be like the distraction that even if Batman knows is a distraction, he can't ignore it.
Yeah.
I think Joker is good for that sometimes when he like teams up, but I think I'm going to throw in Firefly. I'm going to throw in Garfield Linz, because he could also sort of double as your like pyrotechnic explosives guy. Like if we're thinking like heist rules, I think you get Firefly in there because setting fires across the city and continuing to set fires is like a thing Batman can't ignore. So it's a distraction that even if he knows it's a trap, he still has to deal with it. I think Firefly would be useful on that team. I think you also have to keep him away from Ivy.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I think I got this now.
Okay.
First of all, I'm titling this movie.
Okay.
This is Batman Elementals.
Oh, okay.
I'm going Freeze.
Right. Okay.
So we get sort of like Ra's al Ghul's sort of handling magic and things like that.
Okay,
and sort of like getting the mystics.
Right, because he's got like the Lazarus Pit and stuff.
Absolutely, yeah. And then we got fire. We got like earth,
right,
and plant life, and the green, and then we got ice.
I like
and then
it.
They put their fingers together or their rings together, and Captain Planet comes out
right.
and kills them.
Oh, hell yeah. That's it. That's the real villain. That's the fifth villain is Captain Planet.
Evil Captain Planet.
I like that. So Freeze, Firefly, Poison Ivy, and Ra's al Ghul.
You're getting science in there. You're getting a lot of like intelligent levels in there. I feel like this is the team to take him down.
That is an interesting team. Not who I would have picked. I thought it was super unlikely we would ever pair Ivy and Freeze together again. But I like it.
Yeah, I think that works. I love that.
Nice.
All right. Why don't we leave Facebook and head on over to Twitter?
Twitter.
The first question comes from our favorite spacey, sexy texter.
Cosmic DM.
That's right. Sliding in is taking a rocket ship to those DMs. Who asks, which Batman villain are you the most thirsty about? I know it's a long list, but just the top one. Well, for me, it's definitely going to be a top.
This is a very fun. I just before we answer this, I saw this question come in, and this was like almost a week ago.
They know what podcast
Today, I remembered that I could include female villains. I was like, man, this is going to be a tough one. And then today I was like, oh, yeah.
That's incredible. And I'm going to tell you, I 100% just didn't even think about that.
I didn't think about it at all.
Yeah. You knew what podcast you're on.
All right. Who do you have one? Which villain are you thirstiest for?
Ooh, I mean, that's a hard one, right? I mean, when it comes like let's just technically I am like a supposed straight male. So
I love the way you said that.
Yeah. I think like Ivy there's an attraction to Ivy, but it just seems like a lot of work.
Sure, yeah.
For me, I think that like that can be a bit too much. I think that Harley, that is more than enough and
extra. She is extra.
Yeah, too way deep end, but also like blonde's not into blondes.
Really, that's the problem with Harley.
The biggest problem with dating Harley, I think, is the fact that she's a blonde. Yeah. So that really takes her off for me. When you're talking about the like male ones, I mean, there's something to be said for like, I mean, part of me wants to go like the good guys who went bad. You can include like Jason Todd or something like that.
Sure,
but,
right.
But if you're talking about just like mainstay, I mean, Killer Croc's got a great body, but
Killer Croc?
Yeah.
Oh my god!
I just want to. I just want to like roll around in the water with.
I know you'd have to fuck him in a sewer or something. Jesus Christ!
It's a weird way to call an asshole, but sure.
I think they call it a cloaca.
Yeah.
Killer Croc is not where I thought this was going.
With me, really?
No.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Killer Croc, huh?
Yeah. Or Bane. I mean, I like I think I'm like John. I like John and Andrew. I like a big muscly dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Adam, are you sticking with Beefy? Or are you going Bane?
Well, I mean, I love the meat of Bane, and I'm not going to lie with that. Big beefy meat. My heterosexual side did kind of take over with that question when I immediately thought about it.
Wow, so different from us.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, having a sex doll would be fun. So someone like a Scarface, from the ventriloquist. Scarface might be, like a literal sex doll. Wouldn't that be an interesting take?
Oh yeah,
or
you're doing great. This is the best I've ever had.
Why is it Harley?
Or you could have Clayface, who could be a different person anytime you want.
Yeah, there you go.
That's true. I feel a lot like less bad about taking advantage of a doll.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have to ask consent if it's yourself, technically?
Doll, can you show us on yourself where it happened?
Yeah. So I'm sticking to that.
What is that is your answer, Adam?
Well, my real answer is Talia al Ghul. She's fucking hot.
Yeah.
She's connected.
Yeah.
I mean, she is bomb diggity. Do people say that? I'm saying
they do
bomb
now. Yeah, both movies and like animated versions.
Yeah, and like in the Arkham games. Yeah. Talia.
Oh yeah.
That's fair.
I know you guys said she was a bit much, but my mind immediately went to Poison Ivy.
I mean, I get it.
She might be a standard one, but that's where I'm going.
It's just an inherently thing with redheads, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's fair too. I hadn't even thought of that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have to give two answers. I'll give the answer that I thought of until this morning, and then I'll give the answer when I realized I couldn't answer straightly.
Yeah.
That sweet penguin body, just like Killer. Nice and round.
The Danny DeVito version.
I was gonna go Silver Fox. I was gonna go Ra's al Ghul.
Ooh, he's zaddy.
Especially those like 70s comic issues. The shirt off, the hairy
yeah.
chest, the
Oh
sword
my
in
God,
the desert.
yes.
Like he's got a bod. He stays eternally relatively young, but he keeps the
Ooh.
gray. Like I like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I can get
I'm
behind
not
that.
gonna
I
in
think.
Hush
literally.
when he popped up in Hush and he just had that shirt and he was all by himself. I was just like, all right, buddy.
Yeah.
You're looking good.
can get it.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah, he can get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd invite him into my League of Shadows. The answer that I thought of when I realized I could answer as a straight man is Lady Shiva. I went Lady Shiva,
Ooh.
badass martial artist. She could kick your ass, and
Yeah,
Say no more.
Do you have a little submissive thing going on? Because she would totally dominate you.
I mean,
100%.
if you go back through old episodes of the podcast, that is very clear. Yeah.
Thing for Disney characters and submission,
Yeah.
and that's painting the clear doctrine. That's amazing. All right, let's.
That's also the personality profile of a serial killer. That's like,
Yeah, I don't see what the problem with that is. All right, let's go to the next question.
Let's do it.
From MadSeb77.
all right.
Professor Pig, can he be a major cinematic villain? Asking for a friend.
Yeah.
Is that friend making the Batman?
Yeah. How connected are you, Mad Seb? Yeah. Are either of you guys familiar with the character of Professor Pig?
I'm only familiar because of the Arkham games.
Right.
So the I think was he in Arkham Knight?
Yeah.
If I remember correct. So that's the only. I haven't read anything with him, but that's hopefully that's enough.
The Arkham Knight game does a pretty good job of it. I mean, the broad strokes of Professor Pig. He doesn't have powers or anything. He's sort of named as a play on Pygmalion, who's a character in myth that makes a statue and then falls in love with his own creation, kind of thing. And that's what like the play Pygmalion, like I can't remember what the musical is called, but the one with Eliza Doolittle.
Oh,
Because he creates her into a version of something and falls in love with that.
Is it My
Fair Lady? Yes, thank you.
I was going to say Weird Science.
Yeah. So his thing is that he's this like sort of amateur kind of pseudo professional surgeon who wants to fix people and make them perfect. And so through surgery and stuff like that, he kind of makes them into these like automaton people called Dolatrons that can sort of just will obey him, and they're all plastic surgeried and that. The game, I think, does a really good version of that, but that's Professor Pig. If you had to pitch, like, do you think Professor Pig would make a good villain for a movie?
Yes, as long as you didn't call him Professor Pig.
Right.
No. Well, it's Pig with a Y, John. If that helps.
Yes. Yeah.
No,
P-Y-G.
not at all.
As long as
Not
you
at all.
spelled it out every single time you used
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah, Commissioner Gordon has to be like, Batman, we have Professor PYG.
Yeah. Now, I think he could. I think he'd be okay, but he wouldn't. He couldn't be a main for me. He would have to be a secondary, maybe tertiary. But he could fit in like a 3-villain movie, but he wouldn't be the brains.
I think I agree there. I feel like Professor Pig, kind of like what they did with that game, would be neat to like open your movie. Batman takes down Professor Pig. It's a nice little nod for people in the comics. You get to see something creepy like the Dolatrons and that, but Professor Pig is sort of done, and then maybe what he was working on with the Dolatrons leads to the bigger plot with a different villain or something. I think that's how I feel about it too.
I like that. I think I've got a pitch though.
Okay.
So it's like a sort of an alternative take on it, but the idea is basically it's a movie where he's like a tech leader of like an app company.
Okay.
Who it's sort of like an Instagram thing, but it's basically like making like women like feel self-conscious about sort of their look.
Sure.
And so they're like constantly like using filters, and the filters actually like brainwashed them.
Right.
And so they're like trying to like change the way that they look so that they can like raise higher in this application.
Right,
And he's
right,
actually like slowly like brainwashing them through this app.
Right.
And that's how they become like brainwashed. I think that
That also feels like a version, an application you could apply in like the Arrowverse, right? Where it's like, we can't put a guy in a pig mask out there. Like, we got to come up with a different version.
Yeah. It feels like a very CW approach.
I like
for
that
sure.
though. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. As long as Tom Hanks isn't the like leader of that tech company.
Are you talking about The Circle?
Yeah, so
what a
bad.
weird movie to bring
So
up.
bad. This is the first thing I thought of. All right, let's go to the next question.
All right.
From, I think we might know this person, the ongoing comic book discussion podcast.
Yeah, we know her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. We love Tess.
Absolutely. We love Tess. We love our Tessie.
I guarantee she doesn't want to be called Tessie.
She does. She likes it. She told me. Who asks, when did they start incorporating the Alice in Wonderland type characters? Was there a specific comic reason? It seems so random and out of place. Do you think Gotham is a metaphor for Wonderland?
Wow.
Canada's Wonderland.
Oh
yeah.
God. I had to actually look up when some of these characters first appeared because
Yeah.
that's just not information I have in my head. So Tweedledee and Tweedledum,
Yeah.
to kind of they look like Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Yeah.
But they're sort of crime lords.
But there's barely anything to them besides being sort of versions of those characters.
Yeah, they first appear in like 1943 or 45 or something like that. Mad Hatter, I think, shows up in like 46, 47. Those are not the only the only Wonderland-y characters. But
I mean,
those are the
Carly's
first
almost like a
couple.
Queen of Hearts sort of look too.
Well, there's that. I mean, but there's White Rabbit. There's Red Alice. There's there's a few other characters that are sort of connected to Wonderland. I don't know that there was a reason when they first showed up, but what do you guys think of the idea of Gotham as a metaphor for Wonderland, or vice versa, Wonderland as a metaphor for Gotham?
God, I'm too dumb for that question.
Yeah, way to go, Tess.
Yeah.
I think that like the original like Alice in Wonderland is a metaphor in itself, right?
Well, yes, yeah.
I think it's like her sort of like having to come to terms with like I can't remember what it was, but
Well, I mean, it's on one level a drug metaphor.
Yeah.
On another level, it's about like self-determination and finding her way and things like that.
because I think that you could very easily.
It's about growing up, though. It's about not understanding the arbitrary rules of the world. So for her, Wonderland is essentially the adult world. It just doesn't make any sense. Why are things the way they are? She can't process it.
Which I think could be very easily to say sort of like Bruce Wayne after the death of his parents sort of like going down this rabbit hole to like try to like understand this world without his parents and sort of trying to like recontextualize sort of the way things are happening by putting himself as this like heroic figure that is responsible for sort of like the world surrounding it. Because I mean, Alice does the same thing where sort of like she's sort of like trying to navigate herself through a world that's confusing.
Yeah.
Batman's trying to do the same thing by like creating this like bigger than himself character that will sort of help recontextualize all of the bad stuff that he's seeing around him.
Yeah. I think there's an argument to be made for that. I mean,
Which is maybe like the villains.
and if you subscribe to the thing of Batman kind of being a creator of his own villains, not literally, but that he inspires the sort of costumed villainy in Gotham, then I think you can make the argument that it is a kind of Wonderland thing, that like his own perception of things then distorts and perverts it.
Maybe they
right?
aren't as like much of these super villains that they actually are, that like his sort of like psychosis potentially is turning them into
Right.
these like animated characters when in reality they're just like crazy people.
I mean, you
doing
could do
crime.
that thing too, where like it's all in his head. You
Well,
could go the further step, and you could totally write a book,
or
like
at
that.
least just like it's just putting a lens to it that
Right.
maybe is like heightening it.
Yeah. Yeah, what do you guys think? If we're just talking about Gotham City in general, it does seem to be a sort of pit of despair and insanity.
Yeah. No kidding.
I don't think it was a conscious thing.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah, I think I agree with that, especially when we're talking about the 40s. Like, Gotham wasn't as insane then as it is now. Like, Gotham is like a weird, twisted whirlpool now.
Yeah.
Back then, it wasn't. Maybe it's just because it's easy iconography or something like that. Be like, well, we got to come up with new characters like Tweedledee, Tweedledum. We know what they look like already in our heads, and it'll be easy for people to understand that. We don't need to say too much about them. It might not have been that exciting an answer at first, but I think over time it's become a thing where you can make the argument that they're more connected than they were.
But my guess is probably that it's like someone was just like, oh, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, that'll be funny. And then someone's like, well, we already got one. Why don't we throw Mad Hatter in there?
Their names are really silly. Like their last name is Tweed, and so the one guy's name is Dumford or something, and the other one's name is like Deedle or something.
Yeah, of course.
I think when it comes down to it, it was, oh, are they in the public domain? Can I write as those characters? Sure, fuck it.
100% too.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Oh, fuck this next one. Oh,
all
shit. All right. The next question.
Oh, I forgot. You have to.
We haven't done this in a really
yeah.
long time. Okay. Raging G, I like to bathe in grime. Raging G, I like my coconut with lime. There it is.
Very nice. Raging G, what does he ask?
Raging G asks, in Lego Batman, I saw the Condiment King. Oh, we referenced him before.
That's right.
And I had no idea who he was and still don't know. Can you say anything about him, or how would you make him a bit more serious? But not like, hear Superman have some kryptonite sriracha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Condiment King. What can you say about Condiment King? He first appeared on the animated series.
I was about to ask.
Yeah.
I could not remember if it was the animated series or the 66 series that he came from. So
I mean,
Yeah,
I think he's meant to be like homage the 66 sort of feeling, but there's an episode, I can't remember what it's called, but an episode of the animated series, the Batman animated series, where the Joker tries to get revenge on some people who have wronged him by sort of turning them into silly villains. And this guy becomes the Condiment King. So he has like a ketchup gun and a mustard gun, and he says things like, "You'll never catch up with me, Batman." Like, looks like you don't cut the mustard.
Hope you relish in this.
Yeah. I relish the opportunity to fight you. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. It's very, very silly. But he has transitioned to comics. He shows up in like Infinite Crisis or something like that. Like he's part of comic continuity. Condiment King exists now. There's actually he has a different name. I forget what his first name is, but his last name is literally Mayo. Like his name is like
Mitchell
Milford
Mayo.
Mayo or something now. Like
That's ridiculous.
That's insane.
what would you want to see? We obviously can't make him full serial killer.
Why not?
Yeah,
But let's say the studio has spoken. You must include Condiment King in your next project. How would you do it? What would you want to see? How would you take him from very, very silly to still silly but kind of an actual villain?
I think he would have to. His goal was to become part of the Heinz company, where he would then poison the ketchups and the mustard as mind control,
right?
So that way he could then control a population to take over some certain thing that he needed to have happen. I'm not sure what it was. Maybe it's for big gain of money or something like that. But that's what it is. It obviously has to do with him poisoning condiments. And then I think the Condiment King line would only end up being a joke, as like there would be some call over to like a newscast and be like, wow, the Condiment King strikes again. And it's just kind of like an offshoot thing. So that wouldn't be his real name. His real name would be Mr. Mayo, CEO Mayo of Heinz, or, whatever, Wayne Tech Condiments, whatever. Wayne owns everything.
Wayne Condiments Corp. Yeah.
But so that's my thought.
I like that. What about you? What about you, John?
I had to put him in. I would probably try to do something where he has some sort of mental illness that makes him be this, and then use it to teach some sort of lesson about mental illness within the allegory of the story.
Yeah.
That got real.
I like
Listen,
that.
Yeah,
I
your
take my shit seriously, even if it's Condiment
looks
King.
pretty stupid now.
All right, I want to spin off what John's saying, because I think he's onto something.
All right.
I think the idea is that it's like a kind of like the new Joker movie kind of thing, where guy's just been like shit on his whole life, really treated really
I'm
bad.
just picturing Todd Phillips Condiment King.
Yeah.
now.
So what happens is like he's just had like, you just see his life just like everyone shitting on him constantly.
Yeah. He keeps getting dry sandwiches.
Well, no. So he goes into drive-through, and he like you see him like go through the same drive-through every day, and they're constantly like forgetting things in his food. So he eventually goes up and all he wanted was an extra pack of ketchup and can't get it. So as he's pulling away, he pours everything out of the bag. He puts the bag over his head, cuts eyes holes into it, goes back into it and just like murders all the customer service people, and then just like pours condiments all over them.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And then he just becomes like this serial killer who's just going after customer service people.
I thought you were going to say he pulls up to the window and then they just do the scene from Joker where he's like, you get what you fucking deserve, but he squirts ketchup at them and then...
I just want a guy with like a fast food bag over his head that just like murders customer service agents.
I think I want to take a page out of a story like the one where like Neron was... like villains were selling their souls to Neron and he would upgrade their powers. And the Condiment King is like, I'm so low tier. Of course, I'll sell my soul. And he upgrades his powers, but now he has access to every condiment. He's like, and he can't handle it. It drives him nuts. He's like, aiolis. There's just too many flavor combinations and it drives him insane. And he becomes this like menace to himself and others because he can't handle the flavor palette he was given.
Oh my God.
I think that's what I would do.
Actually, I have another idea. It's a guy who just beats people to death with a latex bag full of Mentos.
Because it's the fresh maker?
No, it's the condom mint.
Oh, the condom mint.
Condom mint. Wow.
Boo. How dare you?
Yeah, I think I solved it, you guys.
Nice.
All right, let's go to the next question.
All right.
From Steven Salazar,
Okay.
who asks, where do you fall on Kite Man? Hell yeah. His origin story during the war of jokes and riddles is so tragic, but his appearance on the Harley Quinn animated show really changes him from the book, but in a very funny way. Have you guys watched the animated show, the Harley show, yet?
I love that show.
So good.
It's one of my favorite things to watch right now.
It's awesome.
And I have not seen it.
Yeah, it's a really, really funny show. It's got like the right mix of like the fan service stuff and also being totally willing to shit on comics and like shit on itself kind of thing.
So what are they doing with Kite Man?
So Kite Man, have either of you guys read like any of that Tom King run on Batman, relatively recent? So he introduced this continuity's version of Kite Man as a sort of sub-story of this arc called the War of Jokes and Riddles. So the big thing was that Riddler and Joker were basically going to war with each other over who would kill Batman.
Yeah.
And it was tearing the city apart. And then there's this little sub-story called The Ballad of Kite Man. And basically, he just gets caught in the middle. I think Joker kills his kid, or Riddler one of them kills his kid or something. He loses his family. And he's like, but he finds sort of purpose in donning this kite suit, wearing this green outfit. His catchphrase is "Hell yeah!" And he basically goes and like ruins their war. Kite Man is weirdly instrumental in ending the War of Jokes and Riddles. He's this sort of joke that no one takes seriously, and he becomes the most important piece on the chessboard.
Yeah.
So it is a very sort of sad kind of like story because he's kind of this nobody that gets treated like a nobody in this supervillain war. And yeah, so what the Harley show has done is take that like crazy confidence, like that, taking the words "hell yeah" and made him this guy with an insane gimmick that no one respects, but he has the most confidence ever. So he comes in like he dates Ivy, like he's punching way above his weight,
Yeah.
I think he's a ton of fun. I prefer the Harley version. I understand like trying to make ground things a little bit, but the Harley version is just too fun.
Yeah.
I love that.
I prefer the Harley version of Bane.
The thing that I like about Harley Quinn and about the Lego Batman movie and stuff like that is how insistent they are on taking the Tom Hardy Bane voice.
Oh, I know.
Like, or some element of it, right? Like, even if they still kind of make him Spanish of some description.
They're like, this is still insane.
Yeah.
Like, we still need to, like, address this.
It's not Bane if he doesn't say, like, oh, the fire rises. Like,
Well, it's true, but it's also one that you can actually have say things, because if you're looking at like Batman the Animated Series or like the ones from like the Schumacher movies and stuff.
Well, that one doesn't say anything. Yeah,
there's just these. Yeah, it's ones that are not super vocal, so it's one that can actually say something and has a ridiculous voice.
I like Kite Man. I think it's fun to have characters in the world of superheroes that are way out of their depth, but want to roll with the big boys. That's my favorite trope, I think, ever. Yeah, I love Kite Man.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
I don't know much about him, but he was created by Bill Finger, obviously. Great name. Great guy, Bill Finger. And also, the artist was Dick Sprang. That's a great name, Dick Sprang.
Sprang sounds like the sound effect it would make.
Exactly. That's all I have to add to this conversation, because I don't know enough about Kite Man. But
I think that's perfect. I love that.
Mine makes more of a creaking sound, but sure.
Oh no,
Is that not good?
no.
Oh no.
get that checked out.
Mine's more
Get
of
that
a
checked out.
slide whistle.
Now, that's also a hard thing in high school to like hide. It's just like seeing a pretty girl. It's like, woo! Not good.
Wow, we went there.
Yep, it happened.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next question.
Let's do it.
Next question comes from Ryan Putney, who asks, one thing I love about this podcast was when you mentioned that Batman's villains are reflections of him. Some villains I can't recall if you talked about are Poison Ivy, Ra's al Ghul, Bane, and Mad Hatter. What part of Batman's reflections do they play?
Yeah, I'll fully take credit. We're the first ones to ever say that about Batman's villains.
We're geniuses.
We're
and
the smartest people ever.
Yeah, give us money.
Yeah, we talked about, Joker is chaos, Batman is order. Two-Face is about the warped sense of justice and fairness, right? Penguin is a perversion of wealth and class and stuff like that. Riddler attacks Batman's intellect as a reflection that way. If you took these ones, Poison Ivy, Ra's al Ghul, Bane, Mad Hatter, what do you think they bring out in Batman, or what are they attacking in Batman in your opinion?
Ooh.
Adam, you can start that one.
Well, yeah, I'll jump to Bane, and where I get it is, he's the embodiment of rage.
Yeah.
I think with a lot of stuff, and Batman obviously has a lot of rage in him.
yeah.
You see him having to quell some of that so he doesn't take it far enough. Even in Hush, he wanted to kill the Joker. And I was ready for him to do it, damn it! But he had to stop it. Jim Gordon stopped him and whatnot. But Bane, I think, is just the embodiment of just unfettered rage, and so that's where I think that's at least that one. So you guys can take the rest.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, Batman does have that sort of primal kind of anger in him and rage, and Bane is the version of him that doesn't hold it in check. Yeah, I think that because they share an intellect, they share a lot of other stuff, but that's the thing that sort of distinguishes them. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
My answer is probably not going to be as sexy as that one. I mean, the first thing that kind of came to mind was with like Poison Ivy. Like Batman uses a lot of technology. And she is very much about the earth.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have kind of a contradiction there.
Yeah.
I love that. That makes a ton of sense, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I think there's an element I mean, there's a lot of, I think, cases to be made that the more detached you are from, like, nature or the natural world or things like that, the more you're kind of removed from, like, what it is to be part of an ecosystem, part of a community. I mean, Batman is very isolated. I know there's the Bat family, but he willingly cuts himself off from society in general, right?
Yeah. I know Ivy's all about interconnectedness, right?
Yeah, not necessarily with humans, but she's definitely the opposite of that. Yeah, I think that's a really good one. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll say Ra's al Ghul, Ra's al Ghul. I think that it's, especially in the movies, but it's that sort of thing about the sort of Gotham and where that sits and where and that like things can be fixed.
Right, like the perversion of the mission.
Yeah, but like, and that like this town is like, and like society is at a point where it can be fixed. And I think that Batman's trying to do everything in service of trying to get like Gotham and the city and save it and bring it to a place where it maybe in his mind where it used to be. But Ra's al Ghul's all about sort of like the world can't be saved, and we need to just wipe it off the map and start over.
Yeah, he's very much like the controlled burn kind of approach, and Batman is still trying to fix the thing.
Yeah, I think so, I think that would be.
Yeah, that's true. I think for Mad Hatter, Batman's biggest asset is like his mind. He's honed his senses, he's honed his like detective training, all that kind of stuff. The Mad Hatter's whole thing is to rob people of their like free will, to rob people of their minds. Like I think like they have basically opposite approaches. Batman hopes to and does inspire other people to willingly sort of take up his cause.
Yeah.
Mad Hatter removes that choice from people, right? Like he doesn't let people determine who they're going to be. Batman forged himself. Mad Hatter takes that from people. I think that would be where I put them. Yeah,
absolutely. I love that. That's awesome.
What a crazy difficult question.
Yeah.
My God.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to the next question from the Senator, James Paulson. Who asks, which villain would you like to see given the Hush treatment? Oh, that sounds bad. It made Riddler an actual dangerous villain. What is a joke one that you can see becoming extremely dangerous if given the chance?
Right. What villain would you elevate to like an actual level of danger if you could write them like a Hush style story?
I'd like to jump in. As we mentioned earlier, one of my absolute favorite books is Long Halloween.
Right.
And what they did such a good job in that one is making Calendar Man in a very Hannibal Lecter style. And I want to see him elevated to true Hannibal Lecter level, bring him up, take him to like that real fucking psychopath style, like, make him do something absolute nuts, because they had that. I mean, there were so many parallels to Hannibal Lecter and Calendar Man in that book that I just kind of I want to see how, because in later movies and even at the end of Silence of the Lambs, you see how gruesome Hannibal Lecter can be. I want to see that with Calendar Man, just mainly because that I love that book so much.
Yeah.
Come back to me.
Okay. I think I want to see Maxie Zeus, the guy that believes himself to be like an Olympian, but is not. He's kind of got like the King Tut thing from the old Adam West series. But I think if you had a story where he had determined that it was like, whatever the Greek version of Ragnarok or whatever, like he determined it's the end times, or like he determined it like this will be the clash of the Titans. Like his delusion has pushed him to the point where it's like this is the time where he has to unleash that sort of Zeus rage. Like we know that Zeus in mythology is like famously fickle and very like he has a lot of wrath. He could just turn on a dime. So Maxie Zeus gets to that point and basically like he had this big plan worked out that no one gave him credit for, because he's like, who are you? You're Maxie Zeus. Yeah. But he was like, one day it will be time to end it all. Like this will be the end times. And he enacts this plan that no one was ready for. And kind of becomes this sort of like insane thing where he sees himself as a god, and that he's going to remake the world, and he's going to end this epic struggle with him and the Bat. And like, I don't know. I think I could see something like that where he sees himself as a bigger part of Batman's story than Batman ever saw him. I would like Maxie Zeus.
Wow. I love that. All right. I got one. Freeze.
Okay.
I think remove the ice thing.
Okay. There's not a lot left.
It's an interpretation of the freezing is just people sort of like it's spinning this story into something that's unrealistic. But the reality is he's like paralyzing people,
Okay.
making them immovable, almost as if they were frozen.
Okay. Right.
His wife is in a coma, and he can't get her out of it. So
Right.
he starts like paralyzing people and then experimenting on their brains and things like that to try to pull them out of it after he puts them in a chemical.
Right. So this is like a totally different version of Freeze.
Yeah,
He's not a cold like ice guy at all.
But
it's more about like paralytics.
Yeah, it's like emotionally
cold.
Emotionally
Yes,
cold. Yeah, and sort of that's what the interpretation of that comes
Right,
from, is like
okay.
how he sort of gets turned into this person who they say have cold powers.
Yeah.
But he's
okay.
really just like going into people's like houses at night and then like freezing them while they sleep.
Okay. You got to stop watching I'll Be Gone in the Dark.
I can't help it. It's all I can think about.
I like that. I like that. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, so I think the one I would try to elevate would be, there's one villain that I've never taken seriously, and maybe
His name's
that's
the
because I think
Joker,
it's-
and I'm gonna make him a little twisted.
and I think it's just because I think it's a dumb name
Right.
Okay.
for this character. The concept's okay, so I think if they took the character and just didn't call him the name and actually came up with something better, or don't call him anything, I don't care. That was Man-Bat.
Right.
Oh,
I can't take Man-Bat seriously, but he looks like it would be a good, like, terrifying monster movie
Like
episode of Batman.
body
type thing.
horror type stuff, right?
If you don't call him Man-Bat.
Yeah. I mean, he's the first episode of the animated series. Is Man-Bat. Yeah. I think you're right. It would be almost like a classic like monster movie, like a classic horror kind of thing, but instead of a werewolf, he turns into this bat creature and he can't control it, or he's got a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing.
Ooh.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah. Nice. Man-Bat. These were all good pulls, I think.
Yeah, we did it, you guys.
Yeah.
DC will be accepting checks.
Congratulations. Checks all around.
Yeah, I'm going to wait for my residuals to roll in.
Exactly. All right, let's leave Twitter and head on over to Instagram.
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them.
First
If I'd
question.
known you were going to sing, I'd get over on my kid.
Hell yeah. First question on Instagram comes from the one and only, the real Josh Gill.
Gil.
I want to know where that fake Gill is. Where you fake Gill? Josh asks, what character that appears in the story was most there's no job? What? Did I double?
Oh, you can get rid of... Actually, it's not from Josh Gill. It's just the There's No Josh one.
Oh, that's confusing.
No, like...
Oh, okay. That's confusing. I don't know how that happened.
We'll keep all this in.
Yeah. Hey, that's what it's all about. So from there's no Josh. That's really
Yeah.
fucked up that I got them right next to each
I
other.
mean, that's crazy messed up.
Yeah.
So it wasn't from Josh Gill. It's from someone...
The fake Josh.
It's from There's No Josh.
Yeah, it's fake Josh. Who asks, who's your favorite low-level Z-list, if you will, rogue?
Right. Pick, like, the craziest bottom-tier villain. Who's your favorite? I think I'll start and I'll say I really like... I like Deacon Blackfire, who was sort of around in the 90s.
Yeah.
He was like this sort of like demonic preacher that would like lure in the homeless and turn them into his like cult. I think he's in the Arkham games too, actually. Deacon
He is.
Blackfire
That's
has
how-
also
that's-
sort
that's how
of
I
crossed over
recognize
to actually being in the spiritual realm a little bit. Like he's become like a ghost and stuff, but I think I like Deacon Blackfire a lot.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Gosh, now it's going to pull from like my memory of things, right? I mean, I think that, does ventriloquist count as like a...
I mean, ventriloquist,
Damn, that was going to be my answer.
then it counts. Two people went there. It counts.
Because that feels like it's a character that like animated series makes good because everything is good on the animated series, but
Right.
it doesn't really have a lot of clout. Like,
Yeah.
and does he really appear very many other places?
No, I mean they maybe brought him in Gotham or something, but I stopped watching, so I'm not sure.
I'm gonna go with Mr. Camera. He's really, really dumb, and I like the look of it. I do personal photography for fun, and I'm a videographer. But he's just a guy with a big, stupid camera head.
Yeah.
And he he happened to photograph Batman and Robin without their masks on, and that was like the whole storyline of that. But he's a really crappy character from 1954. But I just love the look of him. I'm not gonna lie, he's got a big camera head.
Yeah, Mr. Camera's a good
Is that
one.
like Chippendale Chairface from The Tick?
Yeah, actually he looks exactly the same as Chippendale Chairface, but you take away the chair and put a camera.
It feels like Mr. Camera should be a Doom Patrol villain, actually.
Yeah,
Real name's
yes.
like Flash something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Flash Celluloid.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
and you were also going to say ventriloquist, John. You like that one?
Yeah, but that's simply from my remembrance of the animated series.
Yes.
Totally.
I've not read any comics with him, but I thought it worked. I mean, who doesn't like a creepy dummy story?
Yeah.
I mean,
think
if we're doing a series of serials, like for a TV show, make Man-Bat one for your monster movie and make Ventriloquist one for your creepy dummy.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked in Goosebumps. Why can't it work
Yeah,
here?
that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. I think I prefer that version of the ventriloquist. There was a later ventriloquist, not Arnold Wexler. The later one was called Peyton Reed, and she was actually telekinetic, so she actually made the doll do things.
I mean, that's just a Pokemon episode.
yeah, I prefer the original one, the Arnold Wexler one, where he's convinced that the doll is telling him to do things.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Like that's,
exactly.
I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
creepier. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, let's go to the next question.
Let's do it.
From Robbie's Just This Guy.
Come on, man. You're okay.
Yeah, come on.
You're not just this guy.
Yeah, at
you're
least you're
our
not-
guy. Robbie's our guy.
As long as you're not a fake Josh, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, fuck that.
Robbie asks, do you think Killer Croc came the closest to killing the Batman? He's nearly ended him with a rock on more than one occasion.
It's true. I mean, I'd say Croc comes close in Hush, right? Like, do you think Croc could ever pull it off? Do you think he could actually be the one to take down the Batman?
What a random character to do that.
I mean, it's a comic, and in theory, anyone could take down the Batman if you really wanted
True.
to. So,
How very Morrison of you.
Who? Never heard of him. I mean, yeah, anything's possible if you get him,
If you get him drunk enough, who knows?
I think there. I do think there is something to the idea of like the characters that people discount, and by that I mean like the Batman discounts. Croc is. He's super strong. He's vicious. He knows the underground of Gotham better than Batman. Like, he has legitimate advantages over him. He eats human flesh. He's strong enough to rip him apart. Batman is a better fighter. He's smarter in that, but like all it takes is like a misstep or him not expecting it, or Croc gets a little bit of help. And, Batman is, I think, very easily on the back foot with a character like that.
Yeah, that's interesting, right? Because it's a character that's almost like more animal than human, right?
Well, and in Hush, he's even more animal than usual.
Yeah.
He's mutating, he's changing, he's becoming more lizardy.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, I would be hard pressed if Croc was ever the dude to finally
What a brutal
get
way
the
to
job
go.
done.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's an episode of the animated series called like Almost Got Him or something, and it's like Croc, Ivy, Joker, Two-Face, someone else, and they're all talking about how they almost killed the
Oh,
Batman.
yeah.
Like they all almost did it.
yeah.
That's a great episode. That's right. They're all kind of like sitting around a table
one
and
of the
they're all
best
kind
ones,
of
Yeah, they're like
telling
playing
their stories.
poker
It
or
is.
something, and they're all like swapping
Yeah.
stories about how they almost did it. I think that's where they always end up, right? John's right. Anyone has a shot, but they all eventually end up around that poker table.
Yeah.
I mean, if Condiment King isn't the one to take him down, then I just don't want to read it.
Exactly.
There's like an offhand comment in some book about Condiment King, and I think it's like Tim Drake considers him legitimately dangerous, not because Condiment King is competent, but because he's worried that like someone will have anaphylaxis.
Oh my god,
Like,
that's hilarious.
Yep.
yeah, so it could be that Batman is just like crazy allergic to ketchup.
Could you imagine if it's just like
Tomatoes are nightshades.
the peanut butter baddie is the guy that does it? Yeah,
Oh yeah, peanut butter's a condiment.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say if there's any of those kind of like secondary villains. I mean, I don't know if I'd call him secondary, but someone who can always kind of get the drop on Batman is Clayface.
Yeah.
And I really think he has a great shot of being kind of the guy who makes that big final hit.
Yeah.
Even more than Killer Croc, because Killer Croc, yes, he's got speed and other stuff, but Batman defends against all that stuff so well. Clayface can consistently surprise Batman by shape-shifting into something different, and I think that's where I think he could be one of those surprise guys.
Yeah, definitely. Clayface is a great pick for that. Yeah.
I think that Bane's the one who broke his back, right? I mean,
Yeah. Even he couldn't finish it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Your body.
That's amazing. All right.
I mean, alternatively, I could throw out another name like Egghead.
Egghead.
That would be an excellent way for Batman to go.
Good God. Let's leave Instagram and head on over to Reddit.
All right, where everyone's nice and no one's ever mean.
Last couple questions here. First one comes from Iceman2681, who asks,
Can I just sorry, before you ask the question, your little comment there where everyone's like, I specifically left Reddit because everyone was fucking awful. And I was just like, you guys, I was asking legit questions to try and help like something, and everyone was awful. And so I was like, I'm never coming back to this fucking community again.
it's almost as if we said it because it's sarcastic.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal out there. Although I will say,
We get treated very nicely.
our little subreddit is lovely.
Okay.
It's a lovely little corner of otherwise misery.
and
You're
people
right.
have said some really nice things about us on Reddit. So
Yes, people have said nice things about us. I feel like somehow we've flown under the radar.
I think
up
it's because
until
we
this
kept
point.
saying that we were making the world we wanted. It's our wonderland.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh no. No, 4chan is our
Okay.
wonderland.
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's go to 4chan.
Awesome,
for a
fucked up
question.
shit. That's yeah.
Yeah,
Now to the dark web.
yeah, the 4chan
And it's that
has
Canadian
to say,
4chan, too.
4chan has to say, here are the doctor and Richard's addresses.
Yeah. The question from 4chan is just them doxing us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doxter DCing
Oh
us.
my God. I mean, we already went there, yeah.
Yeah. Doxter DC is the podcast where I dox the people that write in.
Oh, I thought it was where we put our penises together finally.
It's docking. Oh, I got that.
So,
Finally, that's what you said.
yeah. So Iceman2681 asks, who is the most psychologically well-adjusted Batman villain?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I'm going to say Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah, you took mine. I think I was going to say that too.
Ooh.
That aside, I think I'm going to go with Catwoman. I've always found her to be fairly level-headed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, her motivation is suspect, but as far as her mental stability seems to be fine.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, probably a good part of why she has over time reformed,
Yeah.
It's hard to maintain some of those criminal motivations when you can eventually be reasoned with.
Yeah.
Like,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's a good one.
What do you think, Adam?
My actual first thought going to like Two-Face, but half the time.
Yeah, right, yeah.
But
Yeah.
but even then, when it's half the time, he's actually a good guy and he's nice and he's trying to help Batman. So it's hard to really call him a villain at that time. So I mean, your choice of Ra's al Ghul is pretty damn sound.
I think if you were talking to Morrison, you might say it's the Joker.
Well, he posited that super sanity thing.
Yeah,
where
he's
he
not
was, like,
insane. He's-
seeing reality more than regular people were. Yeah, I think you could also make the argument for the Penguin. I mean, he is corrupt and bad, but I don't know that he's like unstable.
I mean,
Like,
depending on the version. Yeah.
Depending on the version, of course.
Yeah.
But, like, he seems like a guy you send to Blackgate Prison, or you should send to Blackgate Prison as opposed to sending to Arkham. I know he goes to Arkham.
I mean, the reality is none of them should go to Arkham because it doesn't help any of them.
Well, yes, yeah, they should. Yeah. Hashtag defund
Apparently,
Arkham.
it's very easy to break out of there, too.
Yes.
oh my
yeah.
god, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they keep leaving the door open when they go in their smoke breaks, and
Yeah.
then everyone just gets out. Yeah, I think those are all good, reasonable answers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, nice.
All right. Last question.
Last question. I hate this person's handle.
I
so
love that
much, but it makes me laugh.
I love because it's always like our last question.
It's because it's all in capitals, like he's shouting.
It's PM_me_Trump_nudes.
PM me Trump nudes.
Done and done.
So good. Love it.
Just such an insane mental image to have now.
I love that. Who asks, is there any way any of Batman's villains could ever defeat the Caped Crusader? I mean, for good.
So this is sort of building on the thing we were talking about before.
Killer
but,
Croc, yeah.
You know, the thing in comics is like they always come back to the idea of like, but the Joker doesn't really want him dead.
No, he likes
because
the cat
that's
and
the
mouse
game,
thing, yeah.
right? Or same with the Riddler. If you killed the Batman, then who would you challenge yourself against? So, who of Batman's villains do you think could either overcome whatever that thing is, or doesn't have that thing and would just be fine to kill Batman? Whether or not they are able to do it, who could do it?
I mean, I think Ra's al Ghul could do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to be, yeah.
I think it's been a long time
I'm gonna
since
throw it
he's
up to-
given up
okay.
on the idea of Batman taking over for him. Yeah.
The only one that I feel who might he can match the quality of fighting skill to actually do it, and if someone paid him the money, and I think he has the chance. I think Deathstroke is pretty phenomenal of a fighter, and I think he could legitimately get the thing done where he doesn't give a shit about if Batman lives or not. He's not that Joker style or the Riddler, or I don't even think the vast majority of them couldn't do it. If that was his mission and he had the money, he's definitely got the skill. I give it to Deathstroke.
Yeah, I think his fee for that particular hit would be pretty high, but yeah, you're right. I think Deathstroke doesn't have like any sort of moral compunction about it or anything.
Maybe if the villains start a GoFundMe.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, I like that.
That'd be an insane, that feels like a Harley Quinn episode.
Yeah. Yeah, she starts a GoFundMe.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah, that's funny.
That's awesome.
I
think, Batman's greatest villain, Bruce Wayne.
Ooh.
like Batman offs himself.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus.
I think it's the only way Batman goes.
In the alley.
Yeah.
Batman dresses up as Batman, he watches a matinee of Zorro, and then walks into the alley.
That or Joe Cool.
Joe
Chill, sorry, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
his brother.
You're not Joe Cool. We love that guy.
Joe Chill. I think
Wasn't that the Snoopy the bird, wasn't that his alter
Woodstock?
ego? Yeah, Woodstock's alter ego is Joe Cool.
Right. Oh my God!
That's the one.
Woodstock killed
That's
the
it.
Waynes.
yeah, it's just like no, I'm gonna go by Joe Chill now. So
Yes.
That's amazing.
yeah, Joe Chill is like easygoing, but Joe Cool wears sunglasses. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that Joe Chill would be really interesting, right? Because it's like it's like that joke about the guy who like gets made fun of by a clown and then like spends his entire life like going to clown school, goes back and just tells the guy to go fuck himself.
Oh yeah.
I think it's the thing where it's like Batman's trained his entire life, but at the end of the day, it's like he's confronted with the thing that like put him like through trauma.
Right. He can't break through.
And he can't go through, and it's just like just a pop in the alley.
I mean, Jesus, if you were ever going to end the story of Batman, that's a crushing way to do it.
Full circle, and he's just like an old
Have y'all
man.
ever seen-
Like he goes to see
Yeah.
Joe Chill, finally
Jeez.
finds him, and he's like,
Does
and
he have the wheelchair bomb like in Breaking Bad? Like
yeah. I think he
I was
just
gonna
like
say, have y'all ever seen The Wire?
Oh yeah.
Are y'all fans of? Okay, like Omar, dude, he goes off in a fucking convenience store. A kid pops him. It could
Yeah.
be the same kind of thing with Batman.
100%. I think he finds him.
Holy shit! I haven't thought about that in so long.
Yeah.
I think it's an entire book about him like finally like as he hasn't been able to find who killed his parents this whole time. He finally finds him. He goes into like this this room in an old folks home, and the whole book is him sort of just like talking about all the things that he did to try to like repair what that guy did to his family. And at the end, Batman goes to leave, and the gold man's like looking at a gun on it, like his in his table the whole
Right,
time,
yeah.
and just pulls him and fucking shoots Batman in the back of the head.
Love it. Love it.
Christ. I was going to say Deadshot, but that answer just doesn't feel like it has any weight anymore. I was just going to be like, Floyd. Give it to Floyd.
Yeah.
Well, fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, Jesus.
So that was it for the questions today. Which means it's time to play our favorite game.
That's right.
It's called Can You Guess the Name of the Character, based on someone who does not read comic books can describe that character to us.
That's right.
Short and snappy. If you don't know what this game is, basically, my wife doesn't like comic books nor cares to read any of them. I send her a photo of a comic book character from DC, and she sends me clues to figure out who this character is.
Right. And I have not seen these clues. So
nor have you seen the character? Yeah.
I haven't seen the character. I haven't seen the clues. So I will play with you guys. You can guess as many times as you want. You can guess on the first clue. You can wait for more clues. However you want to play. It's just literally to see if we can figure it out.
Okay. First clue. Teen Space Groot.
Teen Space Groot?
Yeah.
And this is a character from anywhere in DC.
Yes.
Teen Space Groot.
I mean, my obvious thought is Swamp Thing.
No.
No, okay,
That's a
not
good guess.
not Swamp.
that's
Thing.
Many clues as you
That
want.
does feel like the right track.
I would say you're very cold.
Okay.
Okay.
Interesting. God, I think I need another clue. Adam, did you want to guess on this one? Or
I was gonna throw out. I mean, maybe because he's green and she was doing that. Beast Boy.
You're on the right track, but no.
Ooh, okay. All right. Let's get another clue in there.
Clue number 2. Loves to accessorize.
Green.
What did Rob Liefeld draw on?
All the pouches everywhere.
Okay.
Shit.
Teen Space Groot loves to accessorize. So we're. Oh, I think I know, but I want to wait.
I feel like
I'm
you're
80% sure I have.
I
this.
think you should go for it because I really doubt it.
Is it Medfill, the Green Lantern, the
No.
tree Green Lantern?
No.
Damn it.
I knew you weren't going to get it. I'm not going that deep.
Well, I don't know.
Um,
Do either of you guys want to throw another guess in there? Or do we want another clue?
I'm going to need another clue.
Yeah, clue.
another clue. Number 3. Alien Richie Rich.
Alien.
So he
The fuck?
has to.
Your wife gives some interesting
Oh,
clues.
you have no idea.
But this is all based on how this character looks because she doesn't
Yes.
know the
She
character.
has no
so
idea
it
who
has
this
to
person
evoke
is.
Richie Rich, Teen Space Groot, and accessorizes in
Yeah.
a way that's noticeable.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
This is a hard one for sure.
It is.
Okay, but it doesn't actually have to be from space because she's just saying Teen Space Groot.
She doesn't know.
I again feel like I have an answer.
Okay.
But-
I mean, shoot.
Is it the Floronic Man?
No.
Fuck.
I think you're taking the wrong thing out of this.
I'm taking the. I'm too focused on plants.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right.
Okay.
You want the 4th and final clue?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's have it.
This is tough.
The 4th and final clue. Purple really accents their skin tone.
purple in the skin tone.
Starfire?
No, but I like where your head's
That's
at.
a good guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I don't know why. Kilowog?
No.
Yeah, I know. That was a bad guess. I just.
Purple and green because Beast Boy was supposed to be on the rightish track.
Yeah, right ish.
I'm really good. Am I going to kick myself? Is
Yeah.
this one going to hurt me?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh. Green and purple. Space. Brainiac? Brainiac 5?
Brainiac 5! Ding, ding, ding,
Oh,
ding!
shit.
That's
Okay.
That was outrageously difficult. That was crazy.
I think it's because she made it. You guessed it too quick last week.
Well, yeah, fair enough. Holy shit.
Brainiac 5.
Guys, that's it for the questions. That's it for the game. Thank you so much for joining us. Do you want to take some time, plug your shows,
Where
and
people,
where
can,
people
find
can
you.
find you online?
Yeah.
Sure. So, I mean, you can find the Blast from Our Past on any podcatcher out there. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram and Patreon if you do search for @BlastPassCast. You can find us there. And then, Adam, I'll let you talk about the trivia.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Throwback Trivia Takedown. You can find it as same things that you're finding, probably listening to Dr. DC on. You can find and listen to Throwback Trivia Takedown. It's all nostalgic trivia. Check that out. If you like trivia stuff and you like nostalgic stuff, 70s, 80s, 90s, check it out. And then I'm going to plug in my third podcast. John only has 2, so he doesn't have much time. I got 3. So I'm
I have
add
a third
my
one
other...
in the works. It's just not out yet.
It's not out
Get
yet.
your shit
All right,
together.
My third podcast is an episode-by-episode breakdown of Seinfeld that I do with Corey Stevenson, who I believe has been on the podcast before.
Yeah, we know Corey.
Yeah. So check it out. If you guys are fans of Seinfeld, check out Cartwright, a Seinfeld podcast, on anything that you listen to podcasts on.
Wow. John, Adam, thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys so much for taking the time and joining us and talking Batman villains. This was a ton of fun.
All right, we'll talk to you guys
Thank
later.
you so much for having us.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you guys so much.
And, of course, we would love to hear from you, residents. All you have to do is reach out through our various social media platforms, such as our Facebook,
Dr. DC Podcast.
Twitter,
At Dr. DC.
Instagram,
Dr. DC Podcast.
email.
DrDCPodcast@gmail.com.
We've got a subreddit.
r/Dr_DC.
You can phone us.
208-917-3238.
That's 208-917-DCEU if you're nerds.
If you're nasty.
And, of course, you can go to our website.
DrDCPodcast.com or .ca.
All the episodes are on there. And 5-star reviews. We always want those.
Oh, yeah.
We're not building to anything particular right now.
Shut the fuck up. We're in the mid-90s. When we get to 100, we will do a Lord of the Rings miniseries.
Yeah.
Same format, different content.
Yeah,
so
we might do that.
Send those reviews in.
Anything could happen.
How dare you?
Of course. So give us those 5-star reviews. And Patreon. Every single week, you want more Dr. DC content? Well, $5 a month will get you an extra episode every single week. It comes out on Friday. Sometimes it's about comic books, but almost never.
No, for a month we digressed. We talk about all sorts of geeky stuff. Though.
Yeah,
music,
it's generally
movies, TV.
Nerd-centric stuff typically is the direction that we go to. And then for an extra $2 whole dollars gets you another piece of content along with our regular episode every week. You also will get a video episode prescribed reading. The doctor talks about whatever comic books that are coming into his pull list every single week.
And I'm actually getting comics again.
I know. What
is
a
amazing.
world.
Yeah, I know. I love it.
And finally, baby, we've got a new podcast.
Oh, don't say baby. Yeah, buckle up and check out Ghostfacers, a supernatural rewatch. Anywhere you get your podcasts, we are going through episode by episode.
327 episodes.
That's right. We are rewatching every episode of Supernatural. We talk about the episode. We also dive into the real world monster lore that inspires the episodes, inspires the show.
And some of the real world facts behind the making of each episode.
Exactly. So if you like Supernatural, or if you just like hearing about behind the scenes of shows, or if you like cryptozoology and stuff like that, tune in, check it out, subscribe, download, give us a review over there too. That would be great.
Every single Monday. Look at that. You get a whole week of Dr. DC almost. Just got to fill that Thursday.
Oh,
And Tuesday.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice.
Yeah, maybe not. All right, that's it for this week.
Adios.
Ciao, ciao.
Superheroes, they always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure, they are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.